worried your savings or investment will not be enough to allow you to live your retirement dream? Are you planning to make more money as a Walmart greeter? Do you realize there actually aren't enough Walmarts to go around? Hello, my name is Sue Ferreira, author of the book and creator of the program Live Your Retirement Dream, the only comprehensive program showing you how to make more money for your retirement dreams. Where you see challenges, I see opportunities. Don't listen to the media's doom and gloom about the financial shortfalls facing baby boomers. It is very possible to make more money and to live your retirement dream. Now, Abraham Lincoln wisely said, the best way to predict your future is to create it. Live Your Retirement Dream shows you how to create your future, the future which is already waiting out there for you to join it. Please check out liveyourretirementdream.com and follow me, Living My Retirement Dream, at facebook.com/yourretirementdream. The sooner you take action to create your future life, the sooner you will be living your dream.
With tens of millions of baby boomers soon facing retirement, let's face it, it can be kind of scary out there. We don't really know what's going on with the stock market, with the economy, and really in the world as a whole. Well, my guest today, Sue Ferreira, is the creator of Your Retirement Dreams, and she's here to help us put some of this fear at ease. Sue, welcome.
Thank you very much, Kristen. It's great to be here.
So, what's going on out there?
Well, I think an awful lot. I think there's a huge amount going on out there, and I think there's probably much more than a lot of people realize. And as you say, we know that we have this huge demographic of baby boomers going through their later years. And a lot of them, I probably estimate it's not just an American problem, a US problem, it's Canada, it's Australia, it's the UK, and a lot of other countries that are non-English speaking. There's well over 80 million who already in the English-speaking world know that they don't have enough money to see them through all of the later years that they're going to have. And there's lots of issues. One is, I think, we've had a pretty good life and we didn't save. We all know that. Then 2008 was the kind of big whack that came and hit people even further. Thirdly, I think what a lot of people haven't done is realize just how long they're likely to live. Like a generation ago, life expectancies were maybe for men in the 60s and women just about 70s. Now we're looking at the high 80s. So you're looking at funding another 15 or more years, which is huge, especially because a lot of those years you're going to be fit. I mean, I'm an old age pensioner, but I feel really young and fit. So you're going to use your money. And then I think there's all those other factors that people really haven't thought about yet, such as the huge inflation that's likely to be coming down the line. You can't be printing all these dollars and think it isn't going to devalue your dollar. And another huge one, I think, is the issue of pensions. So there's like multiple factors coming together to increase the perfect storm.
You know, Sue, it just sounds like a tremendous amount of pressure. You know, here you are, we have this dream that when we retire, you know, whether we've been a teacher our whole life or we've worked for a corporation or even worked in the government, no matter what country we live in, we think, oh, these are my golden years. I'm going to be able to travel, I'll be able to paint, I'll be able to do whatever it was that I was too busy to do when I was working. And it just seems like that is simply not a reality.
Well, it isn't a reality if you say it's not a reality. If you do the flip side and you say, yeah, I can still do it, then you can still do it. And I have this program that I'm developing called Live Your Retirement Dream, which is saying, hey, you know, don't just go down and get gloomy and pull the clothes over your head and saying, I don't want to be there. Yeah, there are certainly things you can do. But you hit the right thing. We had an expectation of the golden years, and now I say we're probably looking at the tarnished brass years. But, you know,
the tarnished brass years.
If you really have the attitude that nothing can be done, then nothing will be done. So I think it's very possible. I think it's very possible to generate added income, to make more money, to help you through your retirement. But at the same time, you can go on and live your retirement dream.
So there is, it sounds like, a need for a mindset shift around this whole experience. So what would be a place that someone who's watching who feels this fear? It's like kind of that dull fear of, am I going to have enough? Will I be okay? Where can they start to shift that into feeling more peaceful?
Well, I think, first of all, they have to acknowledge it. And I think that's where a lot of people aren't. I think, as humans, denial is probably one of our greatest characteristics. And I think a lot of people have still got their head in the sand. So I would first say to everyone, pull your head out of the sand and just look at it. Face it, first of all. Once you face it, if you're already in the situation you're in, you're going to have to change. You're going to have to move out of a comfort zone. And that's another mindset thing, right? Because we don't like change and we like our comfort zones. But I think that's what it involves. But in fact, once you make that idea and you make that change, you can actually move out of the comfort zone easily. And that's what my program and my book are designed to help you to do, to say, where am I now in finances, with my mindset, with my knowledge, with my health? Let's find out where we are now, and then let's just move forward and you can create a plan to take you to where you want to be. And that's what I'm planning to do with everyone.
You have such an interesting background. I'd love to hear a little bit about it.
Well, I've been an anesthesiologist for 40 years, putting people to sleep, and now I'm enjoying waking them up to the possibilities of their retirement. And things come along in life that whack you and change your direction. And I went through a divorce at 60, which is, kind of late in life, and there's a lot of people in my situation. And I really empathize with them. So you go through a divorce late in life, and suddenly out of a divorce, your financial situation is not what it was, right? And so you build a new life, and then you have to take over your financial affairs. And I thought I was fairly savvy, and all of a sudden it was like, yikes, I know nothing. So I then really put my heart and soul into learning about finances, financial money management, how money works. And then a year later, the stock market crash happened, and I saw everything collapse again. And that's when I had this really, really visceral realization of just how many folks were in a similar situation. And then I decided to go ahead and build this program to get as many people back on track as possible.
Now, Sue, you're a physician. And I'm sure that many of our viewers think, well, of course the doctors and the lawyers and the professionals have this figured out, but in fact, is that true?
Absolutely. And in fact, in many ways, I think they're more vulnerable than a lot of other folks, because they're often A-type personalities, they're driven and they're focused and they're on a path. And I know from my colleagues they're wonderful folks, but they're focused and they're driven. And in medicine, you don't have time to think because the patients keep coming in, right? And so everything else really doesn't come into their life, and they focus on their career, and then they come to the end of their career and the finances may not be what they think they are because they haven't focused on them. And I think another huge challenge is that I have many, many friends who've retired, certainly men, and then they don't know what to do with themselves. And their wives, who are friends of mine too, will come up and say, he's driving me nuts. He's just like a puppy at my heels. And these guys are lost. And they have another kind of challenge to live their retirement dream. I see a lot of them just go back to work again. And that's kind of sad because, I always say, this life isn't a dress rehearsal. So if you have any dreams, you have any passions, when are you going to do them? And I see that quite a bit. I think in many ways, the professions have a huge problem when they come to retirement. It's a good point.
Yeah, so what is the first step? We want to live this retirement dream. It clearly looks different than it used to. What's step one, Sue?
Step one, without a doubt, is knowing where you are now. And I think that comes, so where I start with coaching is the financial thing, because that's easy. So I'll just say to someone, if I asked you right now, could you tell me exactly how much you spent on groceries or how much you spent on going out and entertainment in the last month or the last year, and tell me within 2 seconds? Most people say no because they don't have those kind of flow sheets. And for me, that's where you start. You have to have a knowledge of what's coming in, what's going out. And I know that sounds so obvious, but I'll bet you in at least 80%, maybe higher, that just doesn't happen. So unless you know where you are now financially, you're going nowhere, right? Because you don't know how much you need in the future and you don't know where you're going. The next big thing is always mindset, and we know that without a mindset that is can do rather than can't do and I'm keeping my head in the sand, that's another huge one that we have to solve. The knowledge, once we get over the finance and the mindset, dealing with the health issues and how that will impact you, and dealing with knowledge issues are relatively simple. But those two big, finance and mindset, are the ones that are a challenge.
So in your opinion, what time do you think people should start looking into this?
40 years before they need it, but most of us don't. I mean, that's really the issue. I think the sooner the better. I mean, the ones I think are really smart are the ones who are thinking about putting retirement away when they're in their early 30s and planning and planning and planning. Like my kids are in their early 30s, but it's tough for those kids these days. If you haven't done that, then it's as soon as possible. And for those in their 60s, it's today. And that's what I really like to focus on and say, you don't have the time. You don't have the time to recover. So the sooner you start planning. Yesterday was too late. Today's perfect. Tomorrow never comes.
So how much money do you need? I mean, I know that's a big question. Some people think, I have a couple of 100,000 set aside. Maybe I have $1 million. Certainly that's enough.
Yeah, well, how much do you need? And that's with my program, is a huge question because it depends totally on the individual. Some folks won't need much. Some will need a lot more. It depends on what your retirement dream is. I mean, if you're quite happy sitting at home and in fact your love is to make fishing flies or to knit, you're not going to need as much. But I mean, that's true. I mean, that's a wonderful thing to do, but you're not going to need as much. If you're like me, high maintenance, you love to travel, you love to go places, and my kids live all over the world, so going to see them is expensive, then it's going to be a lot more. But that's part of the whole process. It's first of all, where are you now? What do you want to do? Where do you want to go? And then build and create the link between where you are now to where you want to be in, again, how long? 3 to 5 years. And that's to me is the process. So it's very difficult to say how much do you actually need. I think it's tough because it's so individualized.
So what is the role of reinvention in all of this?
Well, again, you're right. I mean, I guess I'm doing that, right? I'm going from a profession, which I've done for 40 years, and I've had no regrets about my profession, but I've done it for 40 years. And it's time for a change. And I'll be honest, working nights is a killer when you're in your 60s. Right. So I have this passion to do this. I have probably, if I'm lucky, I mean, I don't know, there might be a bus around the corner tomorrow for me, but basically I've probably got 20 years, which I can totally do something different. And I think there are a huge number of people out there who've always had a dream, who have music in their heart, which they have never, ever, ever done anything about. So we've got 20 years we didn't expect. When are you going to do it? And I think reinvention is huge. I think we're fortunate. We have the opportunity to be who we would love to be, to fulfill dreams we've never done. And I think that's a huge, it gives you enthusiasm. It just brings you back to life. And I think it's a wonderful, wonderful opportunity for a lot of people who've always wanted to do things.
Can you walk us step by step through that process, what that can look like? I mean, for example, you were an anesthesiologist, you were an expert in your field, and now you're reinventing yourself. There's a period where you have to be a beginner again.
Oh,
and
wow.
you know, tell me a little bit about, you know, what that looks like with so many different people that you've worked with.
Well, I think in a way I'm very much my own avatar for this process. And I think what I hope I can give to people is to fast track them and shortcut the process I underwent. I'm got a bit of an independent spirit, I will admit. And for me, I decided I could do it all on my own. So I just went out when I decided that I really wanted to do this, because not only do I want to do it for the baby boomers themselves, I want to do it for their kids, or else they're going to have the debt. I want to do it for the society. And I just think it's it livens people up again. But I guess really, I took a long time learning. It's taken me probably 4 years. But what I did was just follow my nose, right? What do I think I need to know? We have this wonderful thing called the web. You can find out what you need to know.
Right.
And I started going to a large number of different boot camps, looking at people, learning from them, finding people who could give me what I needed. And eventually, I decided, about a year ago, I know it now. I'll put it together, and it's time to go from sitting in the audience to being on the stage, presenting and getting going. But I know now I can probably shortcut people by quite a bit.
Yeah, it is interesting because I do think that part of this equation is not just having an awareness, not just, having a plan, but also being willing to step into who you really have dreamt of being inside your life.
Yeah. And that does require quite a transformation. And I think one of the other huge factors doing it is mentorship. Mm-hmm. I think if you can do it on your own, great, but I think most people will need mentors, will need people who are already where they want to be, or already have the talents that they want to have, and to find them and then to use them. And folks, one thing I have found is folks are incredibly generous with their knowledge and with their time. It's there. You just have to decide what it is you need. And I can find it for you, or you can find it yourself and then move forward. But it's an incredibly, it's a very enlivening process. I mean, you do really feel reborn and transformed, and I'd recommend it for anyone because I'm having more fun now than I think I've had in a very long time.
And I can see that. I see this energy all around you, and you're just radiant. So what would you say to someone who's watching the show and they just say, I hear what she's saying, but it's just too late for me?
Then it's going to be too late for you, because if you say that, that's what's going to happen. I'm a firm believer in that. If you say you can, you're right. If you say you can't, you're right. So I'd say, okay, say that to yourself, and then say to yourself, well, if that's what I'm saying, then I'm going to stay where I am, so nothing's going to change. And if I can accept that, well, then nothing's going to change, and that's where I'm going to be. But I think it's quite powerful to actually look back and consider what will happen. Project yourself 5 years forward if nothing changes. And I think that's a big motivator. So then I just encourage people to say, well, maybe I can. And if we can, let's start through this logical process. Anesthesiology is an algorithmically driven process, right? I mean, if this happens A, this happens B. And that's just the approach I brought to this. It's easy. You solve it. You say, okay, I can do it, so where do I start? I start with the finances, I start with the mindset, and I can find someone who can help me with all that, and then you just move forward.
What is the difference between someone who is living their retirement dream and someone who's just getting by? I mean, kind of describe a day in the life.
Well, I think if you're getting by, that's a really good question. I think if you're getting by, then you're constantly concerned and worried about whether you'll have enough, right? So there's anxiety in your soul, and that anxiety in your soul really, it hinders you hugely. It prevents you from moving forward. So I think you're always thinking, I can't do that, I can do this. It's to me, it's like being in a fog or being in a damper. Once you say you can, and you find you can, the world opens up. It really is. I mean, you could say transformation's an overworked word, but it's a truthful thing. And now I just think everything's a possibility, because it is. If you decide to do it, you can do it. And I just think it's a totally liberating experience to say you can, and to move to a different life than to just stay making do.
So, Sue, it seems like there's just a lot of changes in the financial landscape in not only our economy, but economies around the world.
Yeah, I think there's even more than financial changes. I think we're living in actually quite an extraordinary time in history. I have to confess, I'm a history buff, right? So, and I'm a political junkie. So I feed off this stuff. we certainly know we've got a global financial crisis. We have a lot of environmental and population challenges, but also, and these aren't all downer things, there's absolutely wonderful things coming scientifically which will change our world very, very much. There is the whole of the rising billion, as they're called. We are now truly a global village, and everywhere is online. And I mean, my daughter was working in a third world country last year, and you know, I'm talking to her on Skype within 5 minutes of her arriving. Like, even the poorest countries have high-speed internet and are online. So this huge population is now becoming educated and is rising fast. And that's hugely positive, because we know what that does for poverty and everything else, especially when you educate the women. But also, they're going to come up and they're going to challenge us. So I think we're living, if you can embrace it, in a very exciting time, scientifically, politically, financially, with what's going on in the world. And that's one of the areas I would address if you're looking at going through Live Your Retirement Dream. I think many of us have talents that we could use to move ourselves to a better place rather than a gloomy, bad place, which, you know, a lot of the press seems to want to put us in.
You know, I so agree with what you're saying, because it seems like there's really opportunities everywhere to create businesses that would have never even been viable before. So there is just, if you have that perspective, you can see opportunity around every corner, under every rock, right in front of you.
So much. Yeah. And that's where I hope to take people, because that's when your mindset changes. That's when you bring your head out of the sand and you see opportunity and it becomes exciting. And I think the opportunities are huge right now.
It just requires having that openness. It may not be clear at first, but I know myself that, you know, I will have an idea or want an idea on something, and I'll put it out there. And then I'll go about my day, and then I'll get like just a download. Like, it'll just come to me. And I think that's true when you're trying to decide what to do in your business, or what to do next, or what's the next step inside your existing business. Oftentimes you put it out there and then you get that little download. And that comes from that openness, because there is so much energy, so many opportunities that are out there in the world. Now, let's talk about things like pensions and Social Security. I mean, you know, we're counting on these checks to come and, you know, pay our mortgage and buy our groceries. What's going on with that?
Well, I mean, we see it in the press, and again, it's not just the US. It's the same in Canada. It's the same in UK. And you know, I'm kind of lucky because I have dual citizenship between the UK and Canada, and I spend a lot of time in the US, so I know all of these three countries intimately, like really, really well. And there's challenges in every single country. I mean, we know where the debt levels are in each country. So how are you going to pay the Social Security? If you're going to pay it, you're going to go on printing money, so it's going to be worth less. Round you go in circles. And we also know that many pensions are being, I love the word, modified, right? Modified. I have looked through a lot of pensions in the last few years, pension plans, mainly in Canada. I've never seen them modified in the favor of the person who is going to be receive the pension. So, and that is actually one of my huge concerns. And I think people who were getting like a government-defined benefit index-linked pension, I just think every single person who's expecting a pension should go look at the pension plan, really get a good financial statement. Things may not be as they think they will be. And those folks who've been relying on getting a pension may not have been thinking of generating the added income. So I'd like to just prod them a little bit so that they would say, yeah, well, maybe I should look at whether or not I need to think about generating added money as well.
You know, the time when that pension gets modified is not the time that you want to start thinking about what new business can I create to supplement my pension. You really want to have that momentum going ahead of time, because as with any business, when you are getting started, there's a little bit of a ramp up. You know, it takes some time, and it can take a short period of time, you know, if you're working with a mentor, someone like you, or it can take years if you're making mistakes. And when you're starting your own business, mistakes can be expensive.
And time costs you time.
Well, it costs you time
and
but time
money.
is money.
And I think that's absolute. And so I would really like everybody to just stand back and say, look, where am I now? Look at every single thing, because it may not be what they what they're thinking it is.
It's sad,
and I
but true.
think I think it's huge, and I think you're absolutely right that it probably realistically will take anyone 2 to 3 years to get up and running if it goes efficiently. So again, the time was yesterday, but today's the day to start.
Very, very wise words from Sue here at Live Your Retirement Dreams. Thank you so much for being with us here on The Ripple Effect. And I'm sure you've inspired some unexpected entrepreneurs out there today. So thank you so much, Sue.
Absolutely my pleasure. Thank you. Are you worried your savings or investment will not be enough to allow you to live your retirement dream? Are you planning to make more money as a Walmart greeter? Do you realize there actually aren't enough Walmarts to go around? Hello, my name is Sue Ferreira, author of the book and creator of the program Live Your Retirement Dream, the only comprehensive program showing you how to make more money for your retirement dreams. Where you see challenges, I see opportunities. Don't listen to the media's doom and gloom about the financial shortfalls facing baby boomers. It is very possible to make more money and to live your retirement dream. Now, Abraham Lincoln wisely said, the best way to predict your future is to create it. Live Your Retirement Dream shows you how to create your future, the future which is already waiting out there for you to join it. Please check out liveyourretirementdream.com and follow me living my retirement dream at facebook.com Your Retirement Dream. The sooner you take action to create your future life, the sooner you will be living your dream.